I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
So, Jerry, let's go back to 2013, a year before the 911 call in that incident, and just kind of tell us how things unfolded, and what you were doing in that area.
Yeah, I was down on our gold claim we've got a lease on here in Knox County, and I was camping down there. I had a cargo trailer and quad gold equipment, and it's just a hobby here in Ohio. It's not big gold or anything. It's just placer gold. As the nights, I would camp down there. I kept getting things messed with on I got one of them white plastic tables with legs that fold out block. And there was a message just come across the top here. Sorry about that. But anyhow, so I seen things getting messed with on my table, like boxes and forks and stuff to be open in the morning. And found a handprint on my truck, and I thought maybe somebody was messing with me, Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, Jerry.
Oh, okay. It's like dead quiet on my end. But anyhow.
No, we're letting you talk.
Okay. And so anyhow. So I just got curious, and I was on the webs, on YouTube, checking out people's Bigfoot pages on there. So I went and got a cassette recorder, Walmart, that come with a microphone. So I hid that in my truck there and hid the mic down underneath it went through my little flap, my vent window, and I run it out and hid it underneath my windshield wiper. And then in the mornings, I'd get up because it only run so long on that one side of the cassette tape, And I'd get up next morning, make my breakfast, sit down and listen to it. And I was sitting there listening to it one morning, and I heard, like branches being broke and snapped. I heard a wood knock way off in the distance on it. Then I heard one urinating right by camp there. It sounded like a horse. And then I heard I had a CB antenna, one of them ones that's got a magnet on it. And you had to open the door to literally reach over there and touch the base of it, And I heard that antenna on the audio on the cassette recorder go toing like that. And I thought, what the heck was that? And it dawned on me it was that antenna on my truck. So I went over and looked, and there's a big handprint right on the window. Where I put one hand on the window and then reached up there and twanged that antenna.
How big do you think those handprints were, Jerry?
What's that?
How large do you think those handprints were compared to human?
They was way bigger than mine. I couldn't tell you by inches how big, but they was way bigger than mine. So, I was watching other people, and they was into the habituating thing. So I started getting some Twizzlers and Reese cups, the singles in the bags, because, they had, like the bags that you get for Halloween. It's just got the single Reese cups in there. And I made a gifting tree, and that's where I messed up to begin with, habituating these creatures. But what happened is that I was doing it so often, I could literally count the Twizzlers in the package at the time, I didn't have no trail cameras or anything. All I had was, I think by then I'd advanced to a digital audio recorder. But you could hear them on the digital audio recorders opening up the wrappers of the Reese cups, just like we would with your fingers. And they would pull the Reese cup out of the wrapper, out of that cup, and drop the wrapper in the cup on the ground and eat the Reese cup. The Twizzlers, they didn't like a whole lot because I could count them. There'd only be one or two missing out of that package next morning. But I could set out 5, 6 of those Reese cups, the individual, and all the wrappers have been open and they'd all been ate. But, and then thereon, I started watching other channels. I know you guys are probably familiar with the Bear. He's been on Crossroads there. They said don't habituate these things. That's what happened. I quit habituating them, and then I come down, back down there, and spent one weekend because I live here in Mount Vernon. And took cargo trailer down there and was just going to go fishing for the weekend. No gold prospecting, no Bigfoot, no nothing, just fish. And then that's when the 911 call occurred in 2014. And that's when that started. You want me to go on with that now, or you guys have questions?
Yeah, first let's go back on your table there. You had that was one of those heavy plastic tables set up, and what happened with that?
Well, I had milk jugs and stuff on there. I'd have stuff messed with on there all the time. When I'd get up in the morning, stuff would be rearranged all over the table.
How do you mean arranged?
Rearranged, where I left it that night, and then the next morning, it'd all be rearranged from the way I left stuff that night. Like water jugs would be sitting on the other side of the table instead of where I had them. I had one of them that had the spout on it, and it'd be set over it towards the other end of the table, but laying on its side. But I wouldn't find no coon prints up on the table itself. Thinking, well, could a coon move that water jug? 'Cause it's pretty good size. It's a big blue one. Then I had the milk jug style water jugs,
Mm-hmm. Didn't you say those were, one time they were arranged, they were laying down, I think 3 of them, they were pointing at each other?
Oh, that was, okay. That was when I had my sighting. Now I am getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us about that.
See, we've done this so many times. We've tried, with technical errors here. My mind's going, it's skipping back and forth because we've had to restart over. But sorry, anyhow.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, we've had a lot of problems with technical issues trying to record.
So my first sighting, that was when I was habituating. And I had another trailer out there some people give me. And it was full of wood, and I wanted to burn that wood up so I could put the trailer down at the end of our landowner's driveway and put a for sale sign on. And I had my cargo trailer there. And this was the night of my sighting. And I was burning that wood, and I fell asleep in my chair by the fire, but I wanted to stay up as long as I could so none of them logs roll off over towards my cargo trailer because it's brand new. And I woke up, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm poking around on the fire. I heard some splashing coming across the river. And I had one of them big square flashlights. It used to take the or the 6-volt cell battery in it or whatever. But now they hold the 4D batteries in them. But it's a LED. And I had that sitting beside me, and they're pretty bright. I flashed down there thinking it was a big buck coming across that water, because it was last weekend of August. And I was getting ready to head to another gold claim for Gold Rush days. And I hit him mid-stride. His his right front leg was forward, left leg was backward, and he just stopped, froze. And I could tell it was a he. Not to get ahead of myself here. When I seen him with the lights on, he kind of turned his head. He had his head turned, looking directly in front of him. And then he turned his body slightly towards me, and I could see his eyes turning. The red eye shine. And then he raised his upper lip, and went, "Ooh-ah," like that, curled his upper lip up, and I could see his teeth. They was blocked just like ours. I didn't see no canines. But this happened within a matter of a minute, if that. And I jumped up, run around there, and my side door on my cargo trailer, real, kind of short, had to almost duck to get in. But I jumped up in there and cracked my forehead. I still got the scar on my forehead. Cracked it on the corner of the door frame. And then got in a cargo trailer there, locked the doors, and I loaded up a shotgun at the time, and then I sat there, and I thought I was sweating. I didn't realize I was bleeding. And I didn't hear nothing. I was afraid that cargo trailer was just going to be slammed over on that door side, and I'd have to make my way out the little windows that's in my cargo trailer. So nothing ever happened. So I laid down on the cot, and then finally I fell asleep. And I woke up next morning, looked at my pillow. I got up, my hair was all sticky, and looked at the pillow, and it was full of blood. I was laying on my shotgun. It somehow rolling around there. It slipped up underneath me. But I did the Jed took the last sips out of those beer cans and just left the little trip beer cans going out through there. And after that, out there, I got to the other gold claim was telling everybody about my sighting. Everybody, yeah, right. And, over since then, I've had people say, "Why didn't you pull your camera out and take pictures? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" When you've got that much of a split second and something you've never seen before ever in your life, especially I've been a logger majority of my life and did not believe in these creatures. And I've been in the woods by myself 18 times and never seen them. Never even really looked for signs. I've been an avid deer hunter, but I don't know, right place at the right time, and I got picked from a Bigfoot to show itself to. But right after that's when I quit habituating, and I hadn't been camping down there for a while. So I went back in 2014. There was supposed to have been some other people down there camping with us that weekend to fish and do some prospecting. Nobody showed up. So I was the only one down there. And by then I'd got my blue tick hound dog. He was a rescue dog. I'd got him at that time, and I took him down there camping with me. That's when the 911 occurred. Incident there.
Okay. Do you want to lead us into that? What happened that evening?
Okay. Yeah, I got a fire going, went down, did some fishing earlier that day, and then sat around the fire. I had some beer. I'm not going to lie about it. I had some beers, A lot of people go camping. They like to drink too. And I was, I went to bed early though. It just started to get dark, and it was about 9 o'clock. It just dusk. So I went ahead and went in there and got caught, went to sleep. And right around 10 o'clock, cargo trailer started shaking violently. And I thought it was kids or somebody at first messing with me until I can hear them growling through two little windows.
And I don't know if you noticed when we played the 911 call, you can actually hear the growling, I think, about 3 different times.
Yeah. And those windows was tinted, but the 911 on 911. Just shut the windows, you know. But I was taking my flashlight, and you could see two sets of red eyes on both windows, going back and forth past that little window. But the wideness of the eyes, you'd see one eye pass, and then like a second, and then another eye pass through. That was telling me how wide those eyes were, how big they were. And now there was banging going on, but that was me inside there trying to get them to quit shaking, rocking the cargo trailer. And I was cussing at them. I don't know if I was making them even worse or what, but at the same time, I'm trying to talk to the 911 and the person on 911, and you know, they didn't realize what was going on. The thing of it is, I gave them the address to the property, but I told them I was at the drive down by the river, you know. And so they kept going up and down the road. Finally, they went on the landowner's drive, which is up on the hill. And I could, and still talk, you know, I could hear the operator, 911 operator, telling the cops, you know, it's, you know, or you could hear her talking back and forth with them over her intercom, to where I'm telling them, I'm down at the river. We have a lane down at the river. You know, I just drove my Z28 down here. And they sent a guy down the bike path, which by then, you know, in the meantime, the rocking and shaking and everything, about 20 minutes later, they finally come down through there. Now, let me remind you, those headlights, you could see those headlights probably a good quarter of a mile away down that lane before the officers could even see what was going on in that trailer. Because there's a bend that goes around right there to our camping area. So those creatures, when they seen the headlights, they took off. And then as I was talking to 911, I told them, you know, I said, you know, I was excited. I said, I see headlights. I see headlights. Well, I guess one officer come down the bike path, saw the one run up over the bike path, take one hand and step over a cattle fence that is high as my chin. And then he come running through the briars, and he was a deputy sheriff, come running down through there. And by then, you know, they was all there. They was all surrounded the cargo trailer. And then when I got out, you know, I was just barefooted. I said, can I put my socks and shoes on? They said, sure. And then one of the officers walked around back, seen a footprint where the dog had dug a fresh hole at. And then the officer said, let me see the bottom of your feet. So I looked at the bottom of my feet, and it was clean, because I just took my shoes and socks off before I laid down. And then there's two big handprints on the other side of the cargo trailer right at the top. And the one officer actually pulled a piece of firewood over there, log, stepped up on it, and seen the fingerprints on top. And I begged him to get me out of there. I said, I know I've been drinking, but I can't drive. I said, I don't want to stay here tonight. And then they got a call of some guy threatening to shoot his wife with a shotgun. So they had to hurry up and leave out. So I spent the night there. And then the next morning, I went and made a casting of that footprint. Doug Waller of the Sosby Group, which is Southeastern Society for Bigfoot Investigations here in Ohio, he's the only one I called BFRO to come out doing investigations out there. They would not, I could not get a hold of nobody. Doug Waller come out off my first sighting, went down to the river there, about where the Bigfoot was standing, or Sasquatch, and he had a stick, plus he is 6'3", I think Doug is. And I told him there was a limb hanging down that I could see was almost touching the Bigfoot's head. And I said, hold that stick up there. So with his height, and it was a yardstick he was holding up there, we figured anywhere from 9.5 to 10 foot tall. This guy was, you know, and but I don't know if that was the same one that was rocking my cargo trailer, because I seen two sets of eyes, you know, on both sides of that cargo trailer. I had one window on one side, one window on the other. So.
Hey, Jerry, how big were the footprints? Just come ballpark. How big do you think they were?
The one that I casted that Doug Waller's got, I think, is 19.5 inches.
Okay, that's big. That's very, very big. And you said one of the deputies came walking down the trail or down the road, and he saw this thing step over a cattle gate. Have you talked to him? Because I'm thinking if I saw something and it's in close proximity, I'm going to be rattled. I'm just curious if you had any sense of how that deputy's response, you know, what his emotions were, you know, was he scared?
You know, they kind of huddled together and was talking with each other under, you know, away from me. Plus there was a ODNR officer there. I don't really know if, you know, they wanted it to get out, you know, especially in Knox County, and, you know, what was going on. But no, I haven't really. They know of me. I've got several deputy sheriff friends, but the one that saw it will not speak of it. And the one deputy friend I have, he knows the guy, and he don't know if he got traumatized or he's just scared to say anything about it, be harassed, you know. But they knew something was going on, because, you know, you can't falsify a call like that. I don't know if it's a felony or if it's a misdemeanor, but you go to jail for doing it, you know.
Yeah, I bet you can. And I think at one point you had mentioned that the creatures had actually moved your trailer a couple of feet. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, at the bottom of my wheel, or my tires, I had two jack stands underneath of it to keep it level. I'd use a tongue in the front, the tongue jack in the front, and then two in the back. And I'd jack it up until I got it leveled up off the ground. Well, when they was rocking it, they rocked it to the right if you're looking at the back of the trailer. And they had moved it about a foot, pretty close to it. But the grass and the dirt was piled up on the left inside tire, and then grass and dirt was piled up on the right inside tire, and both those jack stands was knocked over. And they was laying back, you know, back to where the tires originally was, because I always put them back at the very corners, even where the tires would be. So that's how much they moved that cargo.
How heavy do you think your trailer was?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a small cargo trailer. It was a 8 by 10 closed-in cargo trailer, real thin aluminum on the outside. So I actually put the windows in myself, and I was like, when I was cutting the holes out, I saw, you know, I was like, man, that's some awful thin aluminum. It's just a skin, but it's framed inside, aluminum framed inside with paneling on the inside, wood paneling, and the floor was wood paneling too. But I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, that'll add weight.
Yeah, and the back doors, it had the two swinging out doors like the semi's got, back end of a semi trailer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Unlatch, you had to unlatch and then swing them out. Then it had, of course, a side door.
Right. Well, the reason I asked was I just want to kind of get a sense of what kind of strength was required for these creatures. This isn't something that two guys could just pick up and scoot your trailer sideways like that a foot or two.
No, no. Especially at that time, I was a little heavier too. I was over 200 pounds, and I'm inside there. So that's added extra weight, dead weight.
Right.
There.
Sure. And why? Why would they do it? Have you heard of any other? Has anybody else in the area? Have there been any other sightings? Any other people have experiences that you've heard about in that area?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
There's one woman that she will not speak of it either. I got to talk to her co-worker, and he's actually a witness of it too. But what they work for the county here. They go out in the fall and they'll drive back roads and then map the roads out of which ones need road work done on them for the next spring or summer. So they would go out. So there's a river called Kosing River that we're on down there at our gold claim. There's a bridge down at the end of our road there. And this guy and this woman that work for the road commission here, Mount Vernon, and they work for the county. They was out mapping that road to see how bad it was, if they needed to, scheduled in for next year to have road work done, whether repaved or whatever. And she was driving, and he told me, he said, they come across that bridge, and this, you're talking 300 yards from where I camp at, where the bridge is at. And this creature run from right to left, going towards the camping area, but on the other side of the river, in an open cornfield, right at dusk. I mean, they said they had their headlights on, but it was, just light enough that this thing run across the road on the other side of that bridge. As soon as they crossed that bridge, it come from right to left and went on the landowner's brother's property, run over that direction because there's a woods right there, and it run down into that woods. And she got up the road there, and they've got some grain bins up there. She pulled over and told her coworker, and she said she was shaking really bad. She said, I've never seen nothing like that. She said, I can't drive. You're going to have to take me back in Mount Vernon. So he took her back in there, and they both kind of shook up. One of the guys, how I found out about it is one of the workers at Truck Pro knows the woman. She told him about this at one time. She said she'll never speak of it again because it scared her so bad. And then he told me how to get a hold of the guy she worked with, and I got to talk to him. But there's been the BFRO just had a sighting 1 mile from there, down on 36, right there out of Howard, the town of Howard. There's a bridge right there. This couple was going down through there, and one come up out of the ditch, jumped the guardrail straight over a hill. It's the ditch line's probably about on the other side, about 10 foot deep down, and goes down into a field to the river. And those two people got a hold of the BFRO, and they lived there, but they was headed to Coshocton for a Christmas party or something or another. I know it was in the wintertime, but I don't remember what month it was. But it is up on the BFRO website. And that happened right after my sightings and my incident. That happened like maybe a year or two ago. And that's just a mile up the road. Howard, that's a 5-minute drive from where our camp is to where that sighting was.
It sounds to me like you got corn and agriculture out there. So these creatures have a good food supply. And then
Yeah.
I would think that would be one of the main draws for them. What, going back to your event where you're in the trailer, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking when this is all going on?
You can't really think what's going on in your mind at a time like that. I don't know. After I got caught,
you're scared, right?
oh yeah, I really was. I was in tears at a couple points in that time. All I could think about was months after that happened. Why did I even put that out there? I could have got somebody else hurt. Well, come find out, they started shaking Ron and Carmen's trailer right after mine. They parked in my spot, and I hadn't been there for, the rest of that summer. And they went there to go gold prospecting, parked their cargo trailer out there, and they didn't even know what had happened to me. And then they called me up because they had a sighting down there. And Doug Waller's actually got their story in his book too, as well as mine. But Ron opened the door up, kicked it open, and put a shot off down into the ground, and then they quit rocking the cargo trailer. Now, Doug Waller's book, they've got that incident in there too, and they parked in the same exact, my old camping spot, and the same thing happened to them, except they didn't call the deputy sheriff. The day I was down there, I didn't take a gun or anything with me, so I wasn't planning on any, just fishing. That's it. I had fishing poles in there. And some bait, live bait. But yeah, what was going through my mind yet? It was the aftermath that went through my mind after. I didn't camp down there for the longest time. A friend of mine gave me a motor home, and I just equipped it. I put cameras all the way around it, great big lights, and I put Knox County Bigfoot Organization stickers on it. But by God, if they was going to rock that motorhome, they's going to have to do some work on that one. Plus, they's going to be on camera.
Yeah. So there's been other sightings out there, and you said this last one was. Did you say it was about a year ago?
Yeah.
So it's ongoing activity.
Yeah, it is. Yep. And like I said, the BFRO got that report. It's in Howard, Ohio. And that's just right around the corner from where my sighting and the 911 incident happened. There was one up between, that's ways off. There's another sighting that happened in 1976 in a curve, but that was up towards Amity, Ohio, which is about half an hour from where our camp is at. That'd be north of us there. But then there's been sightings down 715, and that's one of my research areas down there at Mohawk Dam. And I do a lot of research down there. I actually got a picture of one here on the kitchen wall. One that's got two nubs on its forehead, a trail camera caught. There's actually two in the picture. They're juveniles. And, it's not pareidolia because it was a still picture. It was a picture taken from the trail camera. And I've been leaving audio recorders out there, and I've been hearing stuff just tearing up wood out in it because it was a swamp back in there. And you'd constantly hear wood being torn up, just ripped apart. And finally, I went back up in there one time and looked around, and you could see where I thought maybe it was a bear. So I put a trail camera up out there, and then I got that picture right there.
So I'm just going to go back to, again, what really one of the points that kind of caught my attention. That was a deputy walking down the road by himself. He's got a flashlight.
He was on a bike.
He was on a bicycle?
No, he was on a bike path. There was a bike
path. Okay.
Bike path that runs right through the property there. And they sent him down on foot before the cruisers could actually get back down in there, because they kept showing up at the landowner's house. But the landowner wasn't even home.
Yeah, I remember.
On the 911, is there gates down there? I said, no, there's no gates, but there was up to landowners because he had cattle in there. And they had to keep going through gates and cattle crossings.
And you said the cattle gate. I just want to go back. The cattle gate came up to your chest, you said?
It was a cattle fence, kind of like
cattle fence.
The square fencing. He had that with a strand of electric over top. It comes up to my chin.
Your chin.
I did it. The deputy sheriff telling him that. Said whatever it was, grabbed a hold of it with one hand and stepped over and went straight up a hill.
I'd love to talk to that deputy. I'd love to know what was going on in his mind when he saw that. Because that's got to be a absolute terrifying. Certainly got to be you're going to stop in your tracks. Jerry, I thank you. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. We've had some technical issues. We got those resolved. And again, a big thanks from Creek Devil for coming on and sharing your encounter with us.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Jerry. I know people gave you a lot of guff, but it's nonsense. It's a very credible encounter.
I kind of cut out on there for a minute.
Yeah, no, thank you again for coming on. I know people in the past gave you a lot of grief about the story, and we mentioned that in the very beginning that, you were very honest with the 911 dispatcher when they asked if you'd had anything to drink. You said yes. And, I think it's ridiculous. I've known people for many years who've been in all stages of inebriation and have never once concocted a Bigfoot story and called 911. So I think your encounter is very credible.
Well, thank you, and thank you for letting me be on your guys' show, and appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at williamjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out there.